when I did my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, I pointed to the white death rate in a number of states surpassing the white birth rate. And I remember when I saw that story, I think it was in Newsweek, a decade ago, I said, uh-oh, this thing is starting. And when we look at what's happening right now, there's no doubt in my mind the reaction that we're seeing from MAGA, what we're seeing from all of these folks, the attacks on DEI, is all because of this. And here's the biggest problem that I have. The biggest problem that I have, all these yahoos in mainstream media are completely ignoring it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to confront it. There have been individuals who are show hosts who I have been personally texting and emailing for years saying, y'all, this thing is happening. What are y'all talking about? And they want to talk about every other thing. It is as if even when we talk about identity politics, they want to act like whiteness is not an identity, is not part of identity politics. And it is. And I think one of the reasons why we are struggling to really understand what's going on is because mainstream media, and I'm talking ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, they do not want to have a real conversation. When you look at who's responding to what ICE is doing and how they're doing it, when we begin to talk about all these different attacks, the attacks on books, the banning of books, and we're not studying that, and also what's happening when it comes to elections, in terms of how they're trying to come up, oh no, now your driver's license is no longer good enough. Your real ID is no longer good enough. Now you got to have your passport or your original birth certificate. This is driven by this very issue. The Great Replacement Theory is driven by this here. And so Elon Musk, all he does is tweet about fertility rates. And what drives them crazy, and I've been saying, sorry, you can't blame black people, Latinos, and Asian Americans because white people stop having enough sex and stop having babies. Sorry, that's a white-on-white problem.
Yep. It's funny because when you talk about gun control, all they want to talk about is black on black crime. And you're absolutely right, Roland. When you go to the mainstream media, they don't want to talk about these issues. They would rather salivate over attacking Don Lemon for going into a church and simply taking out his phone and doing what any journalist would do and start recording and asking questions. They don't want to talk about these real issues. They want to talk about these culture wars. And you mentioned Elon Musk. You're absolutely right about that. A perfect example. And here's a guy who, for lack of a better term, spreads his seed all over the country, has all these women sign non-disclosures, and is not a father. So you're absolutely right, and it is extremely frustrating when you look at so many of these national networks all over this country not talking about the real issues that Americans are facing. I couldn't agree with you more.
This was a tweet that he sent out. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna pull this up. He sent this tweet out, and this was last year. And Elon Musk tweeted this. The story was fertility decline hits all 50 states. New lows nationwide. It says the U.S. fertility rate dropped to the all-time low of 54.5 births per 1,000 women in 2023, less than half its 1957 peak of 122.9. Okay. Elon goes, low birth rates will end civilization. Okay, Rebecca, here's the problem here. We're not running out of people. It's the right people. See, what he's saying, what Elon is saying, and this is what MAGA has been focused on. You've seen these videos. Look at this. We're in Paris, and oh my God, it's ghetto. Well, actually, Paris is the ghetto of France. Oh my God! Look at all of these Muslims. Look at these people that are coming from these African countries. When you have that rapist Conor McGregor who goes to the White House and the indigenous people of Ireland, we're losing our culture. Hey, dude, it ain't my problem. Y'all stop screwing. And the numbers don't lie. This is extremely basic, y'all. You cannot have a future economy if you don't have people. And if you're not producing people on your own, then you're gonna have to get the people from somewhere else. Control room, get that Mike DeWine clip from Face the Nation ready. Let me know when you have it. If you do not have people, you can't fill jobs. If you do not have people who can fill jobs, they can't buy houses or rent. And then if they're not there with jobs and buying rent, they can't buy groceries, which now means your tax base shrinks, which means that, guys, we had it a couple days ago, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, when he was on Face the Nation talking about Haitians and temporary protected status. We had it. Pull it up. You had it from Monday's show. We didn't use it. Pull it up. So this is the whole thing here. And I'm like, y'all, this is real basic. If you show me towns, Rebecca, that have shrunk, it's because the people have left. These are just basic facts. And so when Elon says low birth rates will end civilization, Elon is saying no, white people. He doesn't want brown people, black people. Elon Musk is very clear. He wants more white people.
Roland, at first I wasn't sure if you were saying that Elon Musk was concerned that enough of the right people weren't being born or enough of the white people, but it sounds like I heard you say both, because for Elon Musk, I guess white is right. And quite frankly, look, he's doing his best to try to improve the white population. How many kids is he up to now? That said, what's so interesting about racism in the United States is that when we saw some of the dying Midwestern towns, or even some of the dying small Southern towns, where you see naturalized citizens moving into those towns and revitalizing and bringing the economy back and creating jobs, they're not just, to quote some of the Republicans, they're not just takers, they're actually creators in the economy, because they're people. People, there's no one demographic that only takes and doesn't also create to add to the American economy. This country really could be great again if it would let go of racism, quite frankly, because when you see those areas of the country that actually needs influxes of people, it can come from some naturalized citizens that are in this country. But what's unfortunate, this white supremacist ideology just gets in the way of America and its ability to be great again.
But this right here, y'all, this is from Face the Nation on Sunday. And this is Republican Ohio Governor Mike DeWine talking about Trump going after the temporary protected status of Haitians and how that is going to have a negative impact on his state. Listen.
Governor DeWine, in Ohio, your state has been the focus of the Trump-Vance campaign during 2024 and of their administration now, particularly the Haitians that you have, tens of thousands in the state of Ohio. You said this week ICE has not been clear on when they're going to surge to your state. Did you bring that up when you were at the White House?
I did not. I really didn't have the opportunity to do that. Look, Margaret, my position has been very clear in regard to TPS for Haitians. I think
temporary protected status,
yes,
which the president is trying to revoke right now.
I think the policy to revoke that is wrong. I think there's a consensus in this country, as we all have said, let's get rid of the violent offenders, get them out of here. I think there's a consensus behind the need to do a good job on the border, and I think the president gets high marks for doing that on the border. But once you get beyond that, I don't think there's a consensus for taking people who are working, who are supporting their family. And we've kind of seen it in almost in a micro way with the Haitian community that's come into Springfield. Springfield is an industrial city, manufacturing city that was down. It has been coming back. And frankly, one of the reasons it's coming back is because of the Haitians who are working there. These are people who, if you talk to the employers, they were filling jobs that were not being able to be filled in any other way. So it's been a big boost to the economy. So if one day they know that TPS is taken away, no employer can hire them anymore. And so you got to have all these people who are unemployed. So I think the policy there is wrong. If I could just say this, I think that this is a real opportunity for the president in regard to immigration, probably after the election, because nothing's going to get done before
the midterms of 2026.
That's right. I think the president has a chance to do something that no president has done for 4 decades. If you would take that opportunity, and I think after the election he'll have a chance.
Joy, here's my whole point. Here you have a Republican governor says they filled jobs that could not be filled. We've run clips of one CEO who said, oh my God, these folks are amazing. He's like, they work hard, they get the job done. He said, we could not be doing the business we're doing without them. Okay, so wow, it sounds to me like that's the kind of folk you want in the United States. Oh, the haters, when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were lying about they were eating cats and dogs, well, we also know what happened. There was a white woman whose pet was missing, who made that crap up, and then later came out and admitted that she lied, she was wrong. Oh, by the way, her pet was returned. And so what they've done is they have completely insulted thousands of Haitians, and then you have these racist white folks in Ohio. We don't want them here. Okay, guess what? Your little rinky-dink ass town is gonna die then. So you know what? Those companies that have those companies there, they're gonna be gone. Your tax base is now gonna be shattered. Springfield was losing population over 3 decades, and with the Haitians coming in, it was bringing their places back. This is no different than the Republican governor of Nebraska calling Trump saying, hey, can you slow down on all of these raids? Because I've lost 6% of my state GDP because we don't have folk to work these farms. And this is what these right-wing maggots refuse to acknowledge. They can't, they're like, oh, deport everyone, get rid of everyone. Then it's like, oh, crap. Who's going to build houses? Who's going to work farms? Hey, slow down. Don't do that because now you're affecting my business. Well, y'all got to make up y'all damn mind. The reality is, if white people in America aren't having babies, you're not going to have a country 30 years from now. These are just some basic ass facts. And there's some black people. I've seen y'all, Roland sitting here, he's touting immigration. Y'all, this ain't hard. This ain't hard. Facts are facts.
It's math. It's math. The math ain't mathin'. And the fact of the matter is, if you go and talk to anyone who's in one of these towns that are dying, a mayor, a county executive in they are happy to see people from other countries. Look at what happened to Afghan refugees, right? There were cities and states begging, like, please come here, relocate here, rebuild here, bring all your skills here. Anybody, there are people around the world who are saying, hey, if you are an American who wants to get away from America, come here. Everybody wants the best people. Only dying, dumb nations don't want the best people, and that's irrespective of race. Even Donald Trump and Elon Musk said, we're not hiring all you white folks for these jobs. So they want it both ways. But at the end of the day, they are trying to scare white people into saying that someone's taking something from them.
Yep.
But in reality, their inequity and their ineptitude has taken it from them. White women don't want to have babies with white men. That's the truth, right? That's what the statistics are showing, because some of them are so dysfunctional. They're on computer games and they don't know how to interact with real live girls, real live people.
Well, and again,
that's what's also happening here. And so what they need to do is focus on figuring out how we can make all of our people such that they are eligible, women and men, who people would want to have babies with.
But also,
and you don't do that by punishing other people. You do that by improving yourself.
But also, I need us. We got to be really honest about what their desire is. This was one of those idiotic conversations on CNN. This is featuring Ken Cuccinelli. Wasn't he Attorney General of Virginia, something like that? I don't know, he was, and then he worked for the Trump administration. I want you to listen to what he says, and I want you to listen to the words he uses. And this sounds very much like that speech that the Missouri senator gave, which was a white nationalist speech. Listen to what he says, because what he's saying is, these are the type of people we want in America. We don't want them people. We want these people. Listen.
No. We're a Western nation. Our foundation is a Judeo-Christian Western civilization philosophy.
Built on slavery. Finish the sentence.
And indigenous land.
Those cultures fit in this country. And they and when I say fit, I mean values fit.
Which cultures?
Similarly Western cultures.
So
Chinese Americans out, Japanese Americans out.
No,
Arab
here they
Americans
are.
out.
Here they are. Here they are. Most of this entire hemisphere isn't white.
But they're here. It's not about white people. We have lost confidence. This is the Republican Party.
This is something that won't be confronted.
The Republican Party seems to have lost faith in the revolutionary ideal of this country. That it doesn't matter the color of your skin or what country ever you color your hair.
No, that is not true.
Our ideals make American.
But a country like Somalia or Syria or Afghanistan, you cannot vet individuals coming from those countries. You cannot do it.
So hold on.
Can't be done.
You just
and so I land in the place of favoring
You're shifting it now, because you were saying before that it was about.
Brian, they refuse to just go ahead and say, look, we really want white people. So they use the phrases, oh no, our foundation is a Judeo-Christian Western civilization philosophy. Okay, Ken Cuccinelli, let's do the math. Germany, Germany, are they producing more white people? Nope. England.
What an absolute.
Nope. Hold on, no. England. Nope. Ireland. Nope. Italy. Nope. Like, if you start naming all of these Western, these Judeo-Christian, Western civilized countries, they're not producing more white people. Because when you look at fertility rates all across the world, white nations aren't having babies. So it's like, oh, so you think, I mean, Germany, the only reason the German economy has been consistently stable, they've been losing population. Why has the German economy been stable? Because of immigration. The Germans like, yo, we hate immigration. We don't want immigration, but damn, immigration is saving our asses with our economy. These are facts. But Ken Cuccinelli, just say it. We want white people. Donald Trump gave a speech in Philadelphia where he said, can we just get some people from Denmark, from Sweden? Donald Trump just said it. I need more white people.
So embarrassing to hear that guy on CNN.
It's Brian. Brian, go.
It's just so embarrassing to hear that guy on CNN spew that absolute nonsense. When I think of America, I think of diversity. When I think of America, I see the fact that it's a land of opportunity where we have all sorts of different people in the crayon box that can come to this country and make something of themselves. Heck, even Donald Trump said something not that long ago that a lot of MAGA didn't like, which was, we don't have enough talented people in America. We need to bring over 600,000 people from China. And I know a lot of MAGA Republicans didn't like that statement. But to hear that guy go on national television and make those statements, you're right. Why don't you just say it out loud? We just want white people here. We don't want people from other cultures here. And by the way, it doesn't help when the Republican Party is also the party that claims that they're anti-abortion and they're pro-life. Not to really get into that topic, but maybe if you weren't against maternity leave, and maybe if you weren't against basically every government program that can help that single mother raise that child, maybe more people would be having babies. Maybe they should think about that. But at the same time, again, it's the same thing over and over and over again. They just say it with different terminologies on CNN. Ken on CNN basically saying to the world, We don't want colored people in this country. We don't want people from different cultures here. This is founded from white people. We want white, which, by the way, anybody who could pass a third grade civics test would tell you that's not true history lesson. It's just not true. And it's embarrassing to me as a white person to hear somebody like that say those things. And most reasonable people that are not bigots would obviously disagree with that. And I'm glad he got burned on that CNN panel. And I'm not surprised that at one point he worked in the Trump administration either. Those are the kinds of people that Donald Trump wants working in his administration, the Stephen Miller types and people like that.
Well, listen, this after the 2016 election, when all it was, we have to listen to these people. We have to go to middle America. I mean, you had, what's his name? The film, Michael Moore on MSNBC. I grew up in this place. We've got to listen to them. And I was like, no, we don't. Like, we already know what this is all about. This right here was a report from PRI in The Atlantic. And it said, beyond economics, fears of cultural displacement push the white working class to Trump. And right here, in their executive summary, this is what they said. They said, identification with the Republican Party, identifying as Republican, not surprisingly, was strongly predictive of Trump's support. White working class voters who identified as Republicans were 11 times more likely to support Trump than those who didn't identify as Republican. Number two, fears about cultural displacement. White working class voters who say they often feel like a stranger in their own land and who believe the U.S. needs protecting against foreign influence were 3.5 times more likely to favor Trump than those who did not share their concerns. Support for deporting immigrants living in the country illegally. White working class voters who favored deporting immigrants living in the country legally were 3.3 times more likely to express a preference for Trump than those who did not. Economic fatalism. White working class voters who said that college education is a gamble were almost twice as likely to express a preference for Trump as those who said it was as important an investment in the future. Then it goes to economic hardship, and it goes to all these things. Y'all, we've been laying this thing out. Donald Trump, when he came down that escalator in 2015, he has been pressing the buttons of white fear. And the reality is, whether you are talking about and that's why you have a fight going on between the Silicon Valley class, the crypto bros who also start funding Trump, and then when Charlie Kirk and others were like, hey, what's going on? Because they wanted those special visas to bring folks in. And then these white natalists were like, oh, no, we have the people right here in our own country. And then even Trump says, as one of y'all just said, Trump like, no, we don't. We ain't got them. They not here. We kind of like need them.